Welcome to Breakdown. SEC versus the Big Ten. JJ, it's Monday, September 18th, 2023. Who you got, SEC or Big Ten?
Ooh, Pac-12.
Hey, let's break it down. Can we do it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, JJ, you said Pac-12. You know, the SEC and the Big Ten are struggling a little bit as a conference. Their record against Power 5 conference is the same.
Yeah.
Their non-conference record against Power 5 teams, they're both 5 and 8.
Yeah. They're both not doing well. Honestly, the Big 12 isn't doing well either. I mean, Oklahoma State lost to South Alabama. You had Baylor lose to Texas State, and Iowa State just lost to Ohio. So it's funny that the best conference right now probably isn't going to exist next year. At least the conference with the best quarterback play, for sure.
And that is the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Michigan State knows that intimately. They're aware of Michael Penix Jr., who threw for over 350 yards in the first half against them.
Okay, JJ, let's talk about Big Ten teams last week. You mentioned Michigan State.
Yeah.
JJ, they gave up 700 yards, over 700 yards on about 73 plays.
And
that's 10 yards per play.
And that was Washington going into mercy mode by the fourth quarter.
Were you surprised by that?
I knew Michigan State was going to lose. I knew that they were going to lose by a lot. I knew that they were going to lose by 20. I did not know that they were going to lose by 40, though.
Okay.
I was surprised at the degree to which they were dominated.
Yeah.
What about you?
You know what? I didn't watch it because I didn't have Peacock.
Yeah.
I did kind of follow the live stats as the game went. And after a while, I even gave up on that.
Yeah.
But surprise, yeah, I was surprised. I thought they would fight a little bit better. So, JJ, can they recover the rest of the season, or this is what we should expect the next 9 games?
I would be surprised if they were bowl eligible. They have a tough schedule. They have Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. They have Maryland this week. They're a touchdown underdog at home to a Maryland team that looks dynamic on offense. They still got Talia Tagovailoa in his super senior season. His brother's balling out in the NFL, and he's doing the same in college. It's looking like Alabama might have been the SEC school that offered him $1.5 million to leave. I mean, well, you did hear that an SEC school offered him $1.5 million.
I did not know.
Yeah, this was in the offseason, and now that I'm looking at Alabama's quarterback play, I'm thinking it might have been them. But so Michigan State, they have a tough schedule ahead of them, and without a leader, they don't know who their leader is going to be. They don't know who they're auditioning for. Is it to stay at Michigan State? Is it the transfer portal? I would be shocked if they were bowl eligible after that, Sean. What say you?
I'm not just talking bowl eligible. Obviously, I don't think they're going to make it bowl eligible. What I'm more interested in, are they going to be competitive in games in the future? For instance, the Maryland game this coming week. Will they be competitive?
So I don't think so. But other than that game, I think that they could be competitive in a lot of other games because the quarterback play was so putrid in the conference. I think Talia Tagovailoa is the best quarterback in the conference. So
Okay.
I think that that's not a great matchup for Michigan State secondary. So I don't think that they're necessarily going to be competitive in that game.
Well, I'm just going to run through their schedule really, really quickly. Will they be competitive at Iowa?
I mean, I would be shocked if they weren't competitive. Western Michigan was competitive at Iowa.
Will they be competitive at Rutgers? These are road games now.
They should be competitive. I don't think that they're going to win, but they should be competitive at Rutgers.
Will they be competitive in East Lansing against Michigan?
No.
At Minnesota?
Probably not. Well, I mean, Minnesota didn't look good at all.
They did not.
Carolina.
Home against Nebraska?
Well, yeah. I mean, they should be competitive. They should win that game.
Okay. Oh, okay. At Ohio State?
Well, no.
At Indiana?
They should win that game.
Okay, you got 2 wins. Penn State coming to Detroit Ford Field.
They should be semi-competitive in that game. Penn State's offensive line has not impressed me, but we can talk about that later.
Okay, JJ, let's talk another game last week in the Big Ten.
Okay.
One that got my eyes. Rutgers was at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, we were talking about the two programs going in up. Like there were two ships passing in the night, one going down and the other one going up. And Rutgers covered the spread. They look good.
Rutgers undefeated.
They are undefeated.
Uh,
Battle of undefeated next week when Michigan and Rutgers match up in the big house. Unfortunately.
Rutgers coming to the big house. That'd be 4 games in a row in the big house for Michigan.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to start a season.
Yeah. Is Rutgers the TCU of last year?
Is Rutgers the TCU of last year? No,
Okay.
they will not be in the.
Okay.
They will not make the playoff if that's what you're talking about.
Okay.
I don't foresee that. What do you think about them?
You know what? They definitely will be bowl eligible this year, in my mind.
I think that they should be.
I don't see more than 2 or 3 losses for them. But you know, it's still a lot games to play. 9 more games to play.
Yeah.
They win 6, 7, lose 3. That's my take on it.
I mean, that would be a phenomenal season for Rutgers football and Greg Schiano. I mean, honestly, that would be great for them.
And I see them losing to the Big 3.
Oh yeah, I would assume so.
But other than those 3, they may be the 4th best team in the East, the Big 10 East.
It might be.
Okay, you want to talk next week game in the Big 10, or you want to talk last week game in the SEC?
Let's get the Big Ten. Let's wrap them up and let's talk about next week's matchups that they have.
Okay, the big game next week. Those Buckeyes going into South Bend, Notre Dame, non-conference.
Yeah, Notre Dame's looking for revenge.
Who's the favorite in that game?
I don't know. But looking at both teams throughout 2 games, I would say the favorite should be Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
How you see that game?
Well, I see Notre Dame finally has a quarterback. Ohio State, their issues are in the secondary. I don't know if Notre Dame has the personnel to actually exploit that. And their offensive line, I'm not sure if Notre Dame has the pass rush to exploit that. But I do think that Notre Dame does have the quarterback to exploit Ohio State's flaws in defense. And I think that they have a much more seasoned quarterback than Kyle McCord. And I would expect, Ohio State struggled with Western Kentucky a little bit in the first quarter before they put them away. I don't think they have the ability. They don't have the ability to. They can't afford to struggle with Notre Dame.
Just for the record, Ohio State opened a 2.5-point favorite.
Yeah,
it's up to 3.5 right now.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
So I should put my money on Notre Dame.
You know what? Ohio State definitely does not have the offense they had in previous years. They don't have the firepower there. They still got the dynamic receivers. I think it'll be a good game. Who needs this game more, JJ? Ohio State or Notre Dame?
Well, Notre Dame needs it more.
Okay, I agree. It's at Notre Dame. Ohio State won the game last year in Columbus. Looking forward to this. To me, this is one of the better games of the week next week. I know there's some games outside the Big Ten that are pretty interesting. But another game I want to talk about, JJ, in the Big Ten next week. 2 undefeated. Conference. Penn State, home against Iowa. Iowa's undefeated.
Yeah, one of the best defenses in the country. The best defense in the Big Ten last year.
Okay. Penn State's undefeated.
Yeah, they're undefeated. They struggled a little bit against West Virginia. They struggled a little bit against Illinois.
Does the home field give Iowa the edge?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's at Iowa or it's at Penn State.
It's at Penn State.
Yes,
it's at Penn State.
So I think the home field will give Penn State the edge.
Yeah,
but they have not been super impressive again to me. Their offensive line struggled to protect Drew Allar. He's looked really good at times. Looks like an inexperienced player at times.
Opened a 13-point favorite.
Yeah.
For Penn State.
Yeah.
Now it's a 14.5-point favorite.
I'm not too surprised.
I am.
Iowa struggled with Western Michigan. There was the points that they scored. I think they put up 41 points, but a lot of that was garbage time points. And honestly, like their offense, a lot has been said about Cade McNamara coming in and Eric All and all these transfers and everything like that. But their offensive coordinator is still Brian Ferentz, and he is,
Coaches.
not encouraging.
Okay. That's a wrap on the Big Ten, JJ. You want to hit the SEC?
SEC, let's talk about the SEC.
Let's talk about SEC. There were some games last week I want to talk about.
Let's talk about them.
Let's talk about K-State at Missouri.
K-State and Missouri.
I watched a lot of that game Saturday. It was a really exciting game. Missouri pulled it out.
Okay.
How did they pull it out?
The 61-yard field goal. As time expired.
As time expired. 61 yards in college. That's pretty impressive.
The second longest field goal ever at Missouri and the longest game-winning field goal at Missouri.
Their field goal kicker should make a lot of money.
Yeah.
When he gets into the pros.
There are some teams I could name that could use his services. Right now.
He should make a lot of money. Okay, JJ, what about Alabama at University of South Florida last week? Alabama won that game.
They did. It was tied at half, 3-3. South Florida is one of the worst teams in the country. They have had one of the worst programs in the country for the past few years.
What does that say about Alabama?
Says the old saying about if you have 3 quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks.
And they played 3 quarterbacks last week.
Yeah, well, they didn't pay Jalen Milroe. They let Ty Buckner and let the Notre Dame transfer and the redshirt freshman duke it out, and neither one was able to take the.
And next week, Milroe is the
he will
starter.
open up as
He's
the
been
starter.
announced the starter. Man, is Alabama that bad?
This is the first time I think in like 128 weeks that they're not in the top 10. They look that bad. They look very beatable for a lot of different teams. They don't look like the normal Alabama, the quarterback play that they've had. They had Bryce Young, who was the first overall pick. Before him was Mac Jones, who was a top 15 pick. Before him was Jalen Hurts, who was second in MVP last year and went to the Super Bowl. Yeah. And before that was Tua Tagovailoa, who I think is leading the NFL in QBR rating right now.
I think he is too.
So their quarterback play has dropped off tremendously, but that was always going to be unsustainable. They weren't. You can't sustain that level of success that they had.
So they couldn't get any good quarterback for $1.5 million to come to Tuscaloosa.
Hey, he would. Tua's little brother had already been in Tuscaloosa, and he didn't want to have to battle out with Mac Jones, I guess, and Bryce Young.
Okay, let's talk about another team in the SEC. Another game.
Yeah, let's talk about them.
South Carolina went to Georgia. Halftime, 14-3. Guess who had 14? It was at Georgia.
The team that everybody thought would.
That's right, South Carolina.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler and the South Carolina Gamecocks.
14-3 at halftime.
Georgia did rally, and the final score was 24-14.
Is Georgia's rated number 1 right now? Is they the best team in the country?
No, I don't think they're as good as Washington, honestly. I think if they played Washington tomorrow, Washington would win.
Okay. I'm with you there. They've not showed it in a couple of games to me that they are the number 1 team in the country. Let's move on to another game last week in the SEC.
Yeah.
Tennessee went to Florida. Tennessee has the high-powered offense that just can't be stopped.
They were supposed to have the high-powered offense. They did not prove to have that, though. They really do miss Jalen Hyatt and Hendon Hooker, and I think that was evidenced in what they're trying to do against Florida.
Joe Milton not the answer?
I don't think Joe Milton is the answer, but I don't think it's just Joe Milton. I think there are problems around Joe Milton as well. But I don't think he's helped. I don't think he's part of the solution.
Okay, we've talked, JJ, we talked about Alabama not being the Alabama Bowl. We talked about Georgia not being the number 1 team in the country, in our opinion. We talked about Tennessee and their high-powered offense just getting blown out. SEC only have 5 Power 5 wins outside their conference in 13 games. How weak is the SEC? On a scale, is it very weak, a little weak, or strong?
It's the weakest I've seen it in a while, but if Georgia wins the championship for the 3rd time in a row, it shouldn't matter. Also, another thing that helps them out is the fact that the Big Ten doesn't look especially strong up top with, Michigan having J.J. McCarthy throw 3 picks against Bowling Green. They didn't look great. Ohio State has looked sluggish against Indiana. Penn State, was sluggish against West Virginia. I don't think the Big Ten is, helping their name, and neither is the Big 12.
The thing about Michigan in the Big Ten is that we really don't know who they are based on their schedule.
That's true.
We don't know who they are. I mean, we'll keep them at number 2 for right now. They could be the best team in the country when they start playing some competition, or they could be less than number 2. I don't know. But, eventually we will find out.
Yeah.
But boy, the SEC really surprised me. That the whole entire conference is as poor as it's been. And if Missouri hadn't kicked that 61-yard field goal as time expired, they would be 4-9 in Power 5 games outside their conference. So, it's not pretty.
No, it's not, but it's not much better. The Big Ten is also 5-8. Big 12 doesn't look good, and the Pac-12 is good for as good as they look. They won't exist next year. And Texas is going to come over, and Oklahoma is going to come over to the big.
And USC is going to go over, and
Oregon, Washington,
Washington. So
the Big Ten and SEC will be plenty strong. They don't have to worry about this season, but as of right now, so far into this season, neither conference looks especially strong.
SEC next week's game. Any game there that you want to talk about?
Really, just one game that really stands out. Okay. That's Alabama versus Mississippi.
Mississippi going into Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, top 15 matchup, but neither of these teams are in the top 10, which is usual for Mississippi, a little less usual for Alabama.
Mississippi is undefeated.
And they probably have the 2 best quarterbacks that will be on the field. I mean, Spencer Sanders doesn't really play, but Jackson Dart would be the starter at Alabama, and Spencer Sanders was the 3-year starter at Oklahoma State. Took him to a New Year's Day bowl game. I would imagine he would be the starter if he was at Alabama. So
Mississippi went on the road earlier this year and beat a very good Tulane school.
But it was Tulane.
Okay. And JJ, we didn't really talk about the Alabama game earlier. We didn't mention the fact that Alabama went to South Florida.
Yeah, where they had probably more fans than USF did.
Why would they go to South Florida?
Because it's South Florida.
Okay.
They're one of the worst programs.
Okay.
It's a recruiting opportunity because they recruit Florida. They recruit South Florida. It's probably, you promise your players, hey, we'll take you back home so your parents can travel to it. And that it's within traveling distance where your fan base can overtake the stadium and have at least 50% of the stadium. It's an NFL stadium.
Yeah, but you don't get that stadium gate money.
Okay, well, why does Nick Saban care about the money? Like, his money, I'm sure his finances are going just fine.
I'm not talking about Nick Saban, the athletic director.
Well, they do it because Nick Saban tells them to.
Oh.
That's why.
Okay.
That's why they do it. That's why they do it.
All right. JJ.
Yeah.
What did we leave out? Did we leave anything out that you want to talk about?
I think that's it for this week. It wasn't Colorado State game. Travis Hunter will be out 3 weeks. That doesn't really have anything to do with the Big Ten and the SEC. But it has something to do with the Heisman race.
That's true.
That might make the Oregon-Colorado game a little less interesting. But other than that, in the Big Ten and SEC, I feel like we covered everything that needed to be covered.
I agree. 2 games outside. You mentioned Colorado and Oregon, and then outside the SEC Big Ten. That's a big game. And Clemson and
Florida State is coming to Clemson. Florida State struggled with Boston College. They won by 2. Boston College, were driving to go to make the go-ahead drive. So obviously they're vulnerable. Clemson isn't even ranked right now, so they're looking for their revenge. They're still, they'll establish themselves as the head of the conference. So
okay. Hey, JJ, I think we wrapped up the SEC and the Big Ten. Come back next time. We'll let you know who's the better conference, if it's the SEC or the Big Ten. Right now, it's a toss-up. JJ, I'm not going to say those 3 letters that I usually say because I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm just going to slide out and say I'm getting out of here. Anything you want to say?
No, I don't want to say nothing either. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
All right.
Peace out.